So why am I out here in my backyard in the spring in Louisiana trying to figure out how to put a little bit of Louisiana in my Scrappy 8? Right there, that's why. Spanish moss. Yes, I've also given myself the challenge to put a little bit of Louisiana into every prompt for Scrappy 8. So how am I going to use this stuff that's full of bugs in my journal? Well, stay tuned. We'll find out. Okay, here we are inside. And yes, Spanish moss. Now I know that just looking at it, it looks really stiff and scratchy, but actually it's really kind of soft and squishy. But yes, it does have insects, especially microscopic insects in it. So it's recommended that if you were going to use it for anything or keep it to use in floral arrangements or anything like that, that you do something to kill the bugs. It used to be recommended that you could bake it in your oven. I'm not going to do that because I'm not actually going to use the Spanish moss itself. We're going to use an image of it. And, you know, the Native Americans called it something like ponchatoula, which meant hair of angels. And really, when it's hanging out of the trees, just bunches and bunches of it, especially over the waters, it really is a remarkable looking plant. It's not especially parasitic to the trees it hangs in. It's more like an air plant. So what do I mean how I'm going to use this as an image? I want to use the image to make like a background. So what I did is that I put this on the scanner bed of my printer, and I actually just made a photocopy. And the first one I did, it came out like this. So it's got a white background, so it just came out white. That's a really stark contrast, but you can see the detail that we actually get in that. This is so cool looking. And I really want to experiment some more with this. So I thought, well, I'd like to have something with less contrast that's a little bit more organic looking. So I was rifling around and I found a piece of gift wrapping tissue paper like this. So I just took that. This is still laying on the scanner bed. I just put it down on top of there, and then I took another photocopy of that. And then I got this image. Okay, so I have this brownish background, and I like that a lot better than with just the white on the background. You can see the difference. Okay, now I've already taken and cut these strips down off from there so that I can use this as a background on my page for prompt 2, which is March's prompt for Scrappy 8 2026. Okay, awaken. What does this have to do with awaken? Not much of anything, but I've got a bit of a mess here that I need to clean up, so I'm going to turn the camera off, come right back, and we'll continue, and I'll show you what else I'm doing. Okay, now that I've got the desk cleaned up and all of the little giblets of Spanish moss are gone, and I've taken it back outside where it belongs with its bugs in it, we'll talk about how I'm going to use this image. Now, I had given myself the challenge with Scrappy 8 in 2026 to put a little bit of Louisiana in with every prompt. Okay, when February we had Graffiti Your Style, and this month in March from Sonya, which is at Artsy Solutions, and I will tag her. I will tag her in the description. She has given us the prompt of awaken. Really fun prompt. And of course, my brain always goes in interesting directions. So we're going to turn it over here. You can see this is where I completed the prompt for Graffiti Your Style for February, which was from Michelle. And so in here, what I wanted is I wanted some sort of a background on this page. So that's why I cut this, and I'm going to use it as a background. Like I said, my brain goes in funny directions, and I am a bit of a musicophile, meaning I love music. I love all kinds of music. I love musics in every genre. I am somewhat musical. I sing. I used to be a decent piano player, but I haven't kept up with that and kept practice over the years. But of course, the first thing I hear, awaken, and I start thinking, when you gonna wake up? When you go, well, anyway, like I said, my brain goes in strange directions. So some of you might know who this is. Sorry about the glare because of it being on my iPad. This is Bob Dylan. There's a song that he had on his Slow Train album from 1979 called When You're Gonna Wake Up. And I'm going to use this image, and we're going to go with this theme, and we're going to see where it goes. I'm going to use this image kind of as a template, and we're going to make kind of a collage Bob and put it on this page with this theme of When You're Going to Wake Up. So we're going to get to that in a little bit. But let's talk about the structure here of the page. So I'm going to use this in the background and glue that down. And I had this ivory resume paper, which I've cut to the size that I want. And I was going to glue it down like this on the back and make this so that it would hinge like this. And I thought, but it seems a little flimsy for what I'm going to do the collage work on top of here. So I thought, well, why don't I take some of that tissue paper that I had that I used on the background of this when I did the photocopy, and I'm just going to glue it on here, kind of decoupage it on there. I'm going to use some matte gel medium. I have done that. I got the majority of it dried, and I do feel like it stiffened it up some. And what I'm doing now is I'm just wrapping this around to the back. And I think what will happen is when we make this a fold out, when I get finished, is I'll just be putting another piece of paper, cardstock, something on the back of this, and we will stiffen that up a little bit more. I am back, and I have gotten the tissue on this. I've also taken and inked around it with a light kind of gold. I've also inked around my background piece, got everything measured out how I want it for later. I've glued it and hinged it onto here, so it's got its hinge ready to go. I did go ahead and put some brown paper on here. I already had some white spatters on it, so I just put that on the back just to give that a little more stability while we work on the collage. But it's going to go on this page this way, but for now I'm going to work on it without the journal under it. So how are we going to go about this? How are we going to put a collage Bob or a collaged version of Bob Dylan on here to go with our Awaken theme for when you're going to wake up? And this is what I did, is I said that I was going to use this picture as my template to do this. Now you can do this. I did it digitally just to make it a lot easier on myself. I put it into a program on my iPad called Sketchbook, which is actually free. And you take this, and then you can actually put it into layers. Like this can be a background layer, and then you can come in and you can draw on top of this like this, and then I can put in some shading. I can put in some color. I went in and drew around the hat, so I'd have a template for my hat. I did the scarf separately, and I did the shirt down here separately. Okay, so if I turn off the photo, you're going to see I'm left with this. But because I have layers, I can actually turn these off separately, printed them out on some cardstock, printed this out, and we're going to go from there. You're going to see what I'm doing when I start showing you the physical properties. But this is just how I did it digitally. Okay, so like I had the hat, and I just printed this out on some brown heavy cardstock. I did the scarf, the template for the scarf, and then I did the shirt too, but I've already glued another piece of printed paper on that looks like gray linen. Now, what am I going to do with these? Okay, well, good question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use these as bases to build my collage. So we're going to build, like I cut out a piece of felt already. Let's go on here for the hat. I'm going to do some shading on that. I'm going to do some work on that to make his hat. Okay, the scarf I've got, if you watched me build my cover, you're going to remember that hanky, that embroidered hanky I had that was super fragile. I'm just going to use it to glue the pieces on here and to make the scarf. Okay, we're going to see how it works out. This is my plan anyway. On this, I thought what would look cool is to use, I had some black lace with fringe on it, so I thought it would look cool to just glue that onto there for like the shirt. I mean, old Bob was a little bit of a fashion boy, so I say let's just go with this. Let's make this really fun. And then, of course, you can see when I first printed out his face that I drew. It was really large, so I had to size all of this to the same size and then make it so it would work. So here's the face, and as you can see, I took what I had printed out and then I've added a little bit of color and some detail to this. So we're going to be putting him together on top of here, and I'll just show you loosely. It's just, I'm not even lining this up where it should be. This, and then his face is going to go here, and the hat on there. And we're going to get this done, and I'm going to watch the time because I don't want to waste your time. So I've already cut this video a lot, and that's just because I want to be respectful of your time. I'm not letting you watch me or having you watch me do things like gluing and inking, which you know how to do. So I'm going to work on this. We're going to watch the time. If I cut it or edit it or speed it up, it's just because I'm trying to keep this one the end 30 to 35 minutes. So it's not an overload for you guys to watch, and it's enjoyable. So we're going to start with the shirt down here. So I'm going to start with that. And let me grab, let's see what I've got. I've got just a plastic bag here, so we can just glue on top of the Ziploc bag. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just use some glue stick. This is a permanent glue stick by Tombow. And I'm just going to glue on there since I already have this little shape, the template cut out for the shirt. I don't have to worry about, you know, sizing that up because I've already done the work digitally. And we're just going to spread that lace out on there so that it's covering that up. Get that pressed on really good, and then I'm going to set that to the side to dry. Now this scarf I think might be a little bit harder because I want to, the reason that I drew this is I want to be able to get some of the folds that are in there. I don't know if you can see those lines that I draw. I'm trying to get those folds. So I think we're just going to start with this piece that's down here, and I'm going to get the tail. Need another, let's see, something to glue on top of so I'm not doing it all over my desk. And I think we can leave that like that. I can trim that off some if I want to later. All right, so then let's see. The next underneath part would be this little piece, and then that little piece at the top. Let me see what I've got here. I think we'll do that piece at the top. I'm trying to fold those edges under and get that glued down so that it looks, hopefully we're going to get what I'm going for here. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I have a plan in my head. Now whether it works out, I don't know. So I'm going to do this little kind of triangle piece here. And like I said, I'll trim those edges off, or we'll wrap them around or something there. And see. Remember how I said that's really fragile? You see how easy I just tore that. Now we've got another little triangle piece here. I don't think that's quite big enough right here. So we've got this little triangle right in there. I'll try to zoom in on this part of the video when I edit it. Maybe you can kind of see a little bit better what I'm doing. I'm sorry if I don't talk all the way through this. It's kind of a concentration process here. So, like I said, I had an idea in my head, and now I'm trying to implement it live on camera. And let's see, this piece here. So what I want to do is I would definitely want to make a fold right across there so it looks like it's, I'm again going to want a little bit of a fold right there. We can trim or wrap that around the edges otherwise. So I'm going to kind of fold this edge under it. Down. it might seem strange to be using glue stick to do this, but I have found that the glue stick worked really good with this particular fabric. Probably because it is so thin and fragile. I think I can go back in maybe with a Q-tip or something and a little bit of ink and get some of these creases. We'll see. We'll see how it comes out. And now, all right. Well, it's going to be what it is. Okay. Well, we've got most of the cardboard underneath, the cardstock, I mean, underneath, covered. So, let's put the glue lid on there. And I'm going to grab my scissors and get my good scissors. We're trying to cut fabric here. Let's just flip this over and we're just going to try to see if we can get around that pattern, which is where I just drew on top of the photograph to make like a pattern just to make this scarf. Right, I don't really mind that this is hanging down at the bottom over it because it's going to hang down kind of on the bottom of the page. So I'm going to leave that little round embroidered part. Well, I keep forgetting to talk because I'm concentrating a lot. And who knows, when I turn this back over, it might be a complete disaster. It might look terrible, but we shall see. Get that stuff out of the way. Let's see, okay, it's not too bad. So, what happens? Maybe rather than a Q-tip, not. Get that. That's the other thing about using glue stick is it stays somewhat movable for a little bit. All right, let me get out my brown ink pad here. Let's see, my brown ink pad, just a pigment pad. Let me grab, I think I have a little brush right here. It's just a little stiff bristled brush. All right, and this is an experiment, total experiment on my part. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but the ink is definitely going on there. So, just gonna. I think it should dry. It should soak into this fabric. Definitely dry. And this is giving me good practice because I think I'm going to want to use a little bit of this same technique when we get to the hat. Just trying to get some shadows where the folds of that scarf might be. And I'm looking over here on the side, I'm looking at my my reference photo and seeing what this is doing. We're getting kind of close to the way it's playing. It's different, of course, but hopefully the ink is just giving it a little bit of dimension. And I think that's looking pretty decent. What do you think? Looking, we may have to clean it up a little bit more. ink it a little bit more, but I think that's okay. All right, so I'm going to kind of do the same thing with the hat. I'm going to put a little bit of ink on it, but I think I'm going to glue it down to its base first. I wanted the hat and the scarf to kind of pop forward towards the front. That's why I'm keeping them on the cardstock base. It just gives them just a little bit of lift to get them up off of the surface. So we have to trim that up after we get it on there. And I want to make sure that I use the correct side of the hat template, the part where I drew the lines, because if I don't, then the hat's going to be backwards and it's not going to fit right on top of Bob's head. So y'all let me know. I am a Bob Dylan fan. Is there anybody else out there who's a Bob Dylan fan? And if you are, what's your favorite song by him, or your favorite album that you like the most, or the one that you know the most about, maybe? And if you don't like Bob, who do you like? Tell me who you like. Do you like any other like folk artists or people like that, or maybe you don't remember him or anything? All right, we're going to give this a little bit of a shadow right where it goes around the top of his head and underneath here. This will make more sense when we start putting it all together. Just using this ink to create some shadow. This part, there's a really dark shadow right there. Let's see, comes more under here. And here. And we're going to get some shadow around that edge. Yeah, there's some ink pen where I drew pattern. A little bit more shadow on this side because the light source is coming from the left. So, okay. I don't mind that there's a little bit of, if this is junk journaling, we tend to like ink around the edges of things and make them darker anyway. So I'm kind of okay with that being there. I think, well, I may end up trimming that ink from the ink pen off a little bit. All right, now one thing that's in the picture is there's a little bit of just a little bit of a headband. Okay, I'm looking at this, and this is where the brim of the hat comes at an angle like that. All right, so that's where there's a little bit of a hat band. And I have that dark brown cardstock that I use to cut the patterns out of. The thing that's cool about that, it's already kind of a leatherette looking paper. You can see the texture in it. It's used to make covers for things and whatever. But here's what's really cool about it. If you start crumpling this up, doing all this to it, here's what happens. It starts to actually look like old worn leather. Like, isn't that cool? Like, I have tons of this stuff. So we're going to take a little bitty piece that I've already crumpled over here. Let's see, can we get, all right, that hat band. Let's see. Okay, get my ink pen, and I'm just going to make where this brim of this hat goes around. Since we have an outline on the rest of it, I'm just going to sketch this. Kind of where this hat brim, where it flips up, the main part of the hat, but this is like the underneath part of the brim down here. All right. Let's see if we can make this look like it's kind of underneath there. Whoops. I am clumsy generally, I'm very clumsy when I'm doing art, so forgive me. Let's see. Yeah, that kind of gets us the hat band in there. There's not a lot of it showing in the picture. I'm just trying to give an idea. And it looks like a leather hat band. So we're going to put that down. I'm going to glue this with the Beacon 3-in-1 because I think we're going to get a better hold on top of that felt. Okay. Just kind of right in there. And then there's a little bit more to be done to that hat. And I think I do want to go around and just put a little bit more ink on this scarf, just on the edges here. It's hard to pick up. The edges around. Since we have it on the hat, it just makes sense to me to go back and do this. Like I said, if I choose to speed some of this up, it's just because I'm trying to save a little time, and all of it's going to depend upon how long this video ends up being in the end. All right, now let me show you how Collage Bob is supposed to go together here. And we'll see if we can make this work. Okay, so this piece where it's square in the corner right there is made to go right in the corner of the paper. Okay, and then there's a straight piece right here, and that goes straight, goes down there, and there's the scarf. Okay, and all right, and we're gonna get Bob's face. He's kind of looking not quite down. His hair goes over the scarf in the back, but the scarf is kind of over the bottom of his jaw and his chin right there. And then this hat sits right on top, but also I'm going to pull his hair out like that and like that and start giving this some dimension. And then in the picture, of course, he has like some flowers and things up here on the hat. So I have these stickers. I have this one, but these I don't think these look right. So I have these, and even though these are in a pot, I don't know, thinking maybe I could cut those. Perhaps these are the right ones. So anyway, this is going to take me a little bit of time to do. Just let me turn the camera off for a bit. Or you know what, I'll just keep doing it. If I need to speed it up, I'll just speed it up. I'll just keep going. So I'm going to work on this, and this is probably going to get sped up with a little bit of Cajun music on top of it, and we'll be back in a little bit. Finished and cleaned up, but I think I need a little bit of a shadow. And while some of this glue is still a little bit wet, I'm going to take this brush again. Let's see if this brown is good enough, but I want to get some shadow back behind there, and I'm not sure that this brown is enough color pigment to accomplish that. Or maybe it is. Let's see. Yeah, that's kind of getting what I want. Just feel like we need a little bit of dimension to this. So, need to pay attention to whether I'm in frame for you guys. I'm not just creating. That's what I forget. I get busy creating. I forget to talk. I forget to look at the framing. Sometimes I forget what I'm doing altogether. So, yeah. I'm wondering what you think about this. And I know that my thinking for Awaken is a little strange, maybe, to go this direction, and yet it's just where my brain went. My brain often goes to music, like I said, because I am such a music lover. Yeah, I think that's giving it the dimension that it needs. I'm really liking that. So, as a matter of fact, on camera, it shows up a lot more than it does in person. So, cool. All right. Right there, where it's over his face, maybe a little bit more shadow right there. Okay. So, what do you think? I think the flowers turned out okay. I kind of wish they weren't shiny, but it's what works. All right. So, anyway, I'm pretty pleased with that. And now let's glue it into the book. Let's get it in the journal. You know, Bob Dylan had a spiritual awakening in the late 70s, and that is why he actually did the album in 79 called Slow Train, which is very biblical and religious, even a good deal prophetic in some ways. And I've always really enjoyed that album, but I like some of his other work as well. And this this song, When You're Gonna Wake Up, I'd always liked it. And more recently, I realized that it's actually a direct quote of a Bible verse from the third chapter of all books in the Bible, Revelation. And so where this has a flip up, I think I'm going to print that out on my computer. It's going to print that out, and I'm going to glue that in there. And we'll do that in a little bit. And I'll come back and show you the finished product. But in the meantime, we're going to glue this where it needs to go. Just looks like right there. All right. I think there's something a little wrong with that hat band, but well, it's glued down now, so it is what it is. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with how this came out. So this flips up. I think I'm going to come in here maybe and add the verse that I want to add. I don't know. And what else? For some reason, I wanted to flip out, and I'm not sure why, but we've got our Spanish moss background there. We've got collage Bob Dylan, and he's just hanging out being Dylan and doing Dylan things. So if you're a Bob Dylan fan, you're going to get that. I think I'm maybe going to write some of the lyrics of the words maybe here. I'm going to glue down some of these edges, and I'm going to come back and we're going to finish this out. All right, I had a few distractions, and I ended up doing a good bit of work off camera. But we're going to take some of our extra pieces here. I'm going to put them in the back in the lanyard pocket, and we're going to pull out this little coin envelope here from the back that we had in here, and go back and I'll show you what we've got. So I've got Bob all finished up here, and I re-inked the edge of that because I wanted it to look a little bit better. I wrote some of the lyrics from the song around here. I pasted some graphics that I printed out from the lyrics from the song around the sides. And I will link a YouTube video to this song When You're Gonna Wake Up off of Bob Dylan's album, so you can go and listen to it if you like. And then you can come back and tell me, did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think of it? So remember, we made this into a flip out. Okay, so I just want to show you a little more up close what I did here. And I'm going to go back at the end and I'm going to do like a really slow move over this because it's got, you can just see it a little better at the end. I'll do that. And so I did do a flip out and it's got a little surprise. I did add a little bit more spring to this. I did put awaken. I put awaken and bloom. I put the Bible verse that I was talking about from Revelation chapter 3, which right here says in it, wake up and strengthen what remains that was about to die. And of course, when spring comes, the flowers and the fruit that comes, that's the evidence of the life that's there. And sometimes we can get a little dead in our ways and just sit and stagnate. So it's time to awaken and bloom. So when are we going to wake up? Let's strengthen what remains. Let's do the things that last. So I've got my little journal card right there in this little pocket I made, and I'm going to stick the little coin envelope in there just because I kind of like the way that it looks. And we are going to say that we're closing the books on the March prompt for Scrappy 8 Challenge 2026. Prompt number 2, which is Awaken from Sonya. Go check out her channel. She does really good stuff. She's linked in the description. I will also put the video, YouTube music video for Bob Dylan's song in the description as well. And so, Collage Bob and I say to you, we wish you peace and wholeness in your life and shalom, and we'll see you again soon.